Heroes in a half shell. Turtle power.
Turtle power.
Hello, friends and fellow gamers. I am back and better than ever. We've got a little bit of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yes, the very original arcade game that graced arcades ever since 1989, if you could believe it. This game is pretty old, but it is made by Konami and is the first of their many romps featuring the heroes in a half shell themselves. And I say in celebration of the latest Mutant Mayhem film, I think we're in for a pretty good celebration of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. My name is tempestmask1000. Some of you know me as Steve, and joining me is a very good friend of mine, a runner of Shredder's Revenge, and a bit of a Turtles aficionado, from what I've come to know of him. It's my good pal, Tree. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty well, Tempest. Let's guide these heroes in a half shell through New York and stop that Shredder.
You got it. All right, no problem. Well, with that said, time will begin once I press the start button here, and I'm going to be playing as Donatello for this particular run. And do note, what kind of vocab is that?
We'll do some words as we go, but don't worry about them too much.
Do note that this is not going to be a 1cc run. This is going to be a run that actually utilizes some death within the game, which is perfectly fine because this will actually make sense for the arcade difficulty. But yeah, let's begin this one in 3, 2, 1, cowabunga.
Yeah, notice you've got about, 50 cents a play, 16 credits. That's $8 worth of tokens in the machine, I guess. But
you betcha.
yeah,
Or something like that.
Imagine being that rich at the arcade back in the day.
Yeah, just think, I'm going to be going on to vacation to the beach, and I know for a fact there's an arcade that actually has this cabinet, so I'm looking forward to actually playing this for real. But yeah, with that in mind, this is the TMNT arcade game that... Oh, wow, this guy's giving me some interference. So, the gist of it is it's a beat-em-up, and as per usual, the rules involve trying to beat all the enemies as best as you can in order to let the camera progress. Now, if certain enemies are on the screen, for each enemy I defeat, that'll allow the camera to continue to scroll. We got the Foot Clan soldiers, we got these Roadkill Rodneys, which are going to be pretty annoying, and that is our first death, but a rather unfortunate instance of one, because the higher that I get knocked into a wall, the higher he has to slide down, and that's never fun. But yeah, the plot of this game is simple. We start things off in April O'Neil's apartment building, and the Foot Clan is causing some problems here, so we are right now in April's room, and already we're going to go to our first boss, which is going to be Rocksteady. I'm going to try and get him within a very, a potentially easy to screw up quick kill cycle, but here we go. Oh, just when I was about to have it too. So as you can tell, he's a bit aggressive. He chooses to attack when he wants to, and that machine gun can certainly be a problem, but yeah, there we go. Alright, now Donatello's going to moonwalk backwards into the window, and we're out of there. April has been kidnapped, and the plot has officially thickened.
You wouldn't think Shredder would be the type who would just kind of sit in the back of the pod waiting for something to happen, but, you know, and just ninja things, I guess.
You bet. So
oh, look, my favorite store, the Electric store.
Ah, there you go.
Where I buy all my favorite electrics.
Imagine having to buy for a CRT TV in this day and age.
Yeah, and then carry it back down into the sewer. You'd need to have 3 brothers to take it down there with you.
So there's a good reason why we're playing as Donatello. His special move, which is when you press the jump and attack button, is very useful for its attack power and range, but it's a bit dangerous as well because the amount of time it takes for him to get back onto the ground can potentially put you in a decent hit position for the enemy. We're going to come up, though, to a nice little skip. It's actually the only wacky skip within the run, but one that honestly adds quite a bit of personality into it. It's the Josie skip, found by Josie Kendamo, and what I'm doing is I'm forcing the camera to move while constantly mashing the attack button to have our viewpoint go in all the way to have us say hello to T-Bop right there. And, oh, that's a little weird. Okay, not what I wanted there. Just a little bit more. There we go.
Speaking of hanging out, waiting for something to happen.
Yeah. Alright, so he's gonna kill me there, no problem. So, I mentioned that dying isn't a big deal for this run, and the reason for that is because the more enemies you kill, the game's gonna make things a little bit harder for you. That's just how games operated back in the day, and even the 1 credit clear run does make at least one use of this. So, yeah, generally just try to get him in that quick kill cycle once again. He's giving me a bit of trouble, though. That's a bit more like it. And jump into a manhole that does not exist. So now
the sewer level.
sewers,
Truly an
yes.
institution.
A very commonplace thing, like how Castlevania has its clock levels. So, T, I think this is probably a good time for us to talk about our personal experiences with the turtles themselves.
Sure, you know, I've played a version of this game, but it's the NES version. I rescued that a copy of that from a neighbor who was going away to college when I was relatively young. So I'm vaguely aware of this game between that and being a member of the TMNT RTA Discord. So like a lot of what's happening here is broadly familiar to me, but as far as like why using Donnie specifically, any other intricacies of like why use a certain character or where to line up on this screen to be in the right position for when enemies spawn in, I don't know those sorts of things. So
Right.
between that and like honestly, you know, people know me as a Turtle's Head because I've done commentary like inclusive of the lore when doing runs of Shredder's Revenge, but beyond that and watching the OG 87 series, I actually don't have a whole ton of history with it. Kind of a lapsed fan, I guess, if you will, having come back to it in the last couple of years.
Understandable, really.
How about yourself?
Yeah, I grew up with the 2003 series because I watched a lot of 4Kids back in the day. Actually, I'll get back to that in a second because we got Baxter Stockman. So this is going to be a very easy kill to get, where I'm just trying to manipulate him into that position. It looks like he's going to maybe move out of it, though. Okay, now he did. Unfortunate. So that might make things a little bit harder because he had the Mousers to help him out. He generally takes 8 super attacks to defeat, though, so there you go. That wasn't too bad, though. Right. So you mentioned the arcade game, or rather Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, which is the official NES home console port.
That's the one.
Yeah, it's a very good game from what I've seen of it. It's a nice little recreation of this, which also added in a bunch of extra content, which, you know, as you do with a home console port. The same could be said for Turtles in Time on the Super Nintendo. Now, normally, you would be jumping out of the sewer into Central Park, which is frozen over, and not the case here. So, yeah. We're just going straight into the highway levels here to rescue April directly. And unlike the NES game where you would fight Baxter Stockman now in his fly form, it's going to be both Rocksteady and Bebop, so this will be interesting. I'm going to have to try and get them both at the same time here with the same kind of quick
Right. Yeah, these are the areas, you know, you've mentioned the adaptive difficulty. These sorts of things were all based on, like, you know, even the most skilled players, the ones who'd talked to their friends around the arcade machine and figured out the best timing to approach enemies, you know, there were routines built into the bosses to, like, break out of attacks or to potentially move, you know, only if they've been approached in a certain sort of way. So cheesing your way through fights in arcade games like this is no mean feat. You know, even to that extent, taking a death is no big deal, like, you know, because your health goes down extremely quickly.
Fun fact, if you're playing a multiplayer game, the turtle that April kisses is the person that happens to have the highest kill counter on them, so yeah, just a little thing that I learned from a good pal of mine in Scavenger216, shout out to him.
Huh, because that means they did the most work. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, you mentioned the idea of the NES game being longer, and that makes perfect sense. It was one of those ideas where, hey, how do we encourage people who like this game in the arcade to actually buy it again rather than just rent it at Blockbuster? We'll put some extra levels in, give people a reason to replay it.
Pretty much, yeah. Roadkill Rodneys are still pretty annoying enemies, by the way.
These foot soldiers just literally carrying missiles down the highway.
Yeah, it's very dangerous. Who knows what kind of directives they've truly been given, but I like to think that they're just going ham on anything. I don't know. Are they hungry? Are they truly hungry? The world may
I
never
feel like
know.
this kind of establishes Konami's trend of, with licensed products like this and the Simpsons game, like doing mostly faithful, but also kind of going off book now and again. Like some of the things in the Simpsons arcade game were just stuff you'd absolutely never see in the show.
Yes. Yes, absolutely that. Oh, and yeah, that Simpsons game I put a lot of quarters into back in the day when we had an arcade. Like, man,
Oh yeah.
that was childhood nostalgia. But yeah, I was mentioning that I grew up with the '03 series, but I definitely have a little bit of experience with the original cartoon. My aunt has one of those tapes that you could get, I believe, from Burger King, and it was the episode of those pacifist aliens going on vacation to Earth, and their kid left behind a toy. So it's a bit of a dangerous toy, and everyone has to find it. Krang wants it, Shredder wants it. It was a pretty wacky episode, but it's still fun to go back to and watch. I actually found it on YouTube not too long ago.
Nice.
Yeah. Alright, so that's going to be the last of the enemies within this section, and it wouldn't necessarily be a Turtles game without a little bit of skateboarding. So here's that.
Yep, you gotta have an auto scroller level. I see this is this doesn't seem like an area where you gain or lose time, huh?
Not at all. So the one thing that I'm going to be keeping an eye out for, though, is I'm going to need 3 loops of the music. Once the third one is complete... oh, I shouldn't have done that. Oh, no. I already screwed it up. Okay, We'll see how this plays out. So normally this level, it just goes on until, like, the third loop of music is done, and then you clear out all the enemies, and then you're just able to proceed forward. And once all of them are donezo. That's all I really wanted to do. I just wanted to leave those white foot soldiers alone so that I could then take care of them. But, like, yeah, we're coming up to the end of loop number 2. No other enemies really spawn within...
Because you're not defeating anything, right?
Yeah, that's exactly the idea. And if I do defeat something, I think it all depends on how far into the stage I am in.
Okay.
But yeah, this is a very straightforward sort of segment, for sure. I think that's a perfectly placed death, actually. Alright, here we go.
Good.
Wait for it. Okay, go. Time to perish.
Okay, not what I was expecting, I admit.
Hold on. Come on. There we go. Okay, cool. That's a bit more like it. I lost a little bit of time there, but it's not a big deal. And somebody let Mikey drive the dang thing.
Well, it wasn't really the problem that Mikey was driving, it's that he was eating an entire pizza while driving.
I love that. I'm accepting that as my headcanon. Alright, so yeah, we got a couple more stages here. There's a total of 5 scenes within the arcade version. And yeah, this is a potentially infamous one, not necessarily for what we're experiencing now, but more so around the tail end of the stage. So we got some lasers coming up right here. I'm just going to avoid them, obviously. And then I'm just going to... Guys, come here. I just want to have a word with you all. Is that too much to ask for? Shaking my head, man.
Yeah, that one in particular seems to be talking with his gun more than anything else. So, not ideal.
Yeah, I guess he had a bit of a faulty synthetic voice box, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Alright, I'm going to stand in a particular position to try and get these enemies killed extra fast. That should do it. Alright, that's most of them down, and boom. Those laser flies are annoying if you let them spread on out as, like, an entire group, so by utilizing that setup, I will have gotten rid of the most of them, and yeah, I can proceed as planned. Also, Mage in the chat making a very good point. There was for a time, a modern port of this game before the Cowabunga collection on the Xbox 360. It works a little differently though.
Yeah, for a few years there were ports of all of Konami's licensed games. This, Simpsons, and X-Men.
Oh, this is new. Okay, now he's
Oh,
starting
yeah,
to become the
yeah,
fun.
almost had a bit of an infinite there. That was...
Yeah, so this is Granitor. He's the fun police of the run, and he will choose to attack you whenever he so dang pleases. This man yeah. Aw, shell shock. Alright, let's try that again. So, he does not take stagger damage, unlike the other bosses, and because of that, I have to be very careful of how I try to approach him. So...
Yeah, you know how Shredder likes his turtle soup?
Yes.
Now it's well-roasted, flambéed turtle soup.
Yeah, for some reason they just gave him a flamethrower. I don't know why. I always called him Birdface, because that's what his sprite just looks like.
Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of beakiness going on in the head area.
It's
that and like
yeah.
the wide shoulder pauldrons kind of look like wings.
Yeah. Bird up. Oh well. Yeah, he's almost done though. And he's not really going to take all that much more damage from my special attack, so I'm just going to try and I would micromanage my walking and then
Yeah,
try
hoping
beat him that way.
to sneak back up and down out of the way of his attacks. Because using the special attack, you'd absolutely get tagged on the way back down.
All right, we have saved Shredder. We're going to get a nice little cut. Sorry, Splinter. Thank you,
Please
my
remember
turtles.
my name, my sons.
I think
As
we just
Magia
did a
says,
Splinter
birds are
Splinterception.
jerks.
Yeah, birds are jerks. All right, final level. It's the Technodrome. And
Hey, look, we found
it's
the Technodrome, just like it asked us to on the scene screen.
It's worth noting the NES game, also known as Geki no Den or whatever the heck in Japan. I usually know these facts. Yeah, those electric cannons, by the way, are also jerks. A lot of things in this game can be jerks, but yeah, we're in the most straightforward level. But yeah, the original NES game did come out the same year as this one. It was obviously a very different game compared to this experience, which is why the second one was the arcade game. But yeah, not much
Looks
else
like
to
the
really...
phrase you were looking for was Geki Kama Ninja, then.
Thank you. Oh, dang it,
Very much how by the same token, the arcade version is TMNT Super Kame Ninja.
Ah, yeah, that's right. But yeah, the infamous freeze guns, they are infamous for reappearing in all sorts of places, and this one was no exception. That's
Yeah,
the only time
extremely
you see
grateful
them, though.
that the ones in Shredder's Revenge are completely avoidable.
Very. I mean, so are these, too. The funny part is that if you lead the Rodneys to this elevator, you see them not follow the elevator. They're just floating above there. I could have actually done that, and it would have allowed me to avoid them entirely. But yeah. So now I just got to clear a few enemies. I can technically proceed on to the next boss, but I'd rather not. So, you know, crowd control is a little bit more important here than anything.
Hey, Tempest, don't forget to hit buttons.
That's very true.
The game just thought you should know.
Yeah, the
Oh,
Rodneys...
that's rough. They chained you back and forth.
Yeah, the Rodneys are especially horrible for that sort of thing. All right. So, you thought Granitor was something. Well, now we're going to fight Trank, and yeah, he's very similar. The main difference
Good job
here...
of keeping your distance so far.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, he's basically like Granitor. He does not take stagger damage. He does not take more damage from my special attack. He's got a grenade launcher as compared to a flamethrower, so he's not as painful. He also apparently does the same crush the turtles taunt. At least he can choose to do so anyway. He does not do so immediately. Yeah, there we go. That was it right there. And I want to also avoid the electric gate, because until the boss fight is over, I can potentially get electrocuted by that. This is a really good fight, though. Like, I'm actually not having much issue here whatsoever. Oh yeah, whenever he breaks open the door, that can hurt you. So do be sure to take caution.
Yeah, there it was. So I become active right at the end.
Aye, aye. Alright, final bosses. It's Krang time. This is the last time that we're going to be facing a fella that does not take much more damage from my super attack. So, of course, it's going to be at least 50, maybe 60 hits in order to take him down. And yeah, Krang, as you can tell, whenever he lands an attack on you, he does a little Shao Kahn-like taunt. It's, yeah.
I mean, thankfully, it's not the actual line from MK, because hearing "you suck" over and over would be really dispiriting right about now.
Nah. I like the fact that he just almost goes gorilla, though, like whenever he does it here. Also, Rocket Punch. Shout out to the fact that we just came off of Dragon Ball to here. Android 16, always the OG.
Well, that, I mean, and I-beams. I-beams are also not out of the realm of possibility in Dragon Ball.
That's very true. Frieza and all them. And Dr. Gero, if I'm not mistaken. Alright, so he's starting to flash up a little bit. Oh man, he's really giving me the jukes. Alright, well, let's try and finish him off as fast as I can.
I mean, honestly, you know, the game you were playing, didn't classic Demon King Piccolo use eye lasers?
He did.
Yeah, okay, I thought so.
I'm pretty sure of it anyway.
Almost done here. Yeah, it's almost pixel perfect in these old games to try to keep the correct distance from an enemy to just make them chase you rather than using a ranged attack. It cannot be understated, really, how difficult keeping a distance, like, especially if you have to transition back across the opposite direction to make that work without just getting beam spammed over and over.
Alright, maybe a few more?
Yeah, I hate to tell you that I was not keeping track, so if you were counting on me for that, I had let you down. But thankfully, we're done.
Alright, Shredder time, and this is going to be interesting. So he's going to utilize a clone technique, and generally speaking, the clone is the one that has the helmet fall off much quicker than the real one. Time will be on the next cutscene, so yeah. I kind of forgot to do the setup here. That's okay. We're going to try and see if we can make this work anyway. So what I want him to do is have the clone go to the side of the wall so that he's constantly trying to move to me, but he won't really be able to do much. Yeah, I think that's almost good. Come on. Just a little more. That's more like it. Okay, so now I'm going to try and constantly hit him with super attacks or special attacks, because those will do more damage to him. Oh, that's the worst part, though. So that's his mutagen beam, and that's an instant kill, as you saw right there, with a bit of a special animation of us suddenly getting reverted back into our child forms. Luckily, we were able to make the rebound through the power of token magic, I guess, if you want to call it that. So,
I mean, turtles are long-lived. You could be a 16-year-old regular turtle.
That's true. I assume they're going to live longer than my headphones right now, because I'm getting the battery low signal all of a sudden.
Uh-oh. Better finish up quick.
Oh, yeah. No, I'll be fine. So, once the real Shredder starts to lose his helmet, that's how we're close to time. So, yeah. I'm going to say right now this is not a PB.
There it is.
Yeah, hang on a second. Just a couple more hits. Get ready on time. And it's once we see the Technodrome, that's time.
GG.
That was a pretty good run, all things considered. We definitely kept it under estimate, and I think that's just the general achievement I want to see. Alright, so we got the epilogue. Freak the Foots, mangled the Mousers, and totaled the Technodrome. That's turtle power.
Turtle power!
But what about Shredder and Krang? Burnt to toast, vaporized to milkshake, or escaped to Dimension X? Till we know, none of us can sleep safely in our beds, or shells.
I don't think I want a milkshake made out of something that was vaporized. I don't know about you.
Nah. That's just the equivalent of standing where somebody once stood once you teleported there.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, let's not have a teleporter accident milkshake. But anyways,
No.
That was 1988 or 89's Konami's TMNT arcade game.
Yes. And, yeah, it's a very fun speedrun to learn, honestly. You can pick it up pretty easy, and the Josie skip is very simple to get yourself going into as well. Like, I didn't take all that much time in order to get this submission ready for License-a-thon, so all things considered, if you would like to learn this game, please check out the TMNT RTA server, where we are more than happy to get you set up for just about any game under the rising sun and all that good stuff. And, yeah, there's also a separate leaderboard for the Xbox 360 port of this, which I do believe that featured portraits of the turtles from their latest CG movie, I believe it was. But yeah.
Latest at the time, of course.
Latest
and
at
then,
the
of course,
time.
there's also the Cowabunga collection, in case you want a convenient place to play all of the Turtles games at once.
I
For
don't
all of
think
those classic
we've,
games.
Yeah, I don't think we've officially set up how to use the leaderboard for any of the games except for the NES one. So, yeah, I'm sure we'll figure something out at some point or another. But yeah, that was, you know what, that was a mistake, but hey. TLC. Okay. Yeah, so that's going to do it for me for License-a-thon. Thanks, guys, for accepting my runs. I very much appreciate the opportunity of showing this game off. And, yeah, I'm the second to last runner for day 2. Coming up next is my pal Magus with Robotech, the complete Macross Saga HD. Tree, before we sign off, where can these wonderful people find you?
Usually staffing or volunteering for other marathons. So, tune into speedrun marathons and you'll see me in chat probably. But I stream very occasionally at twitch.tv/ateatree, and you can also find me on Twitter or other socials under the same name. Thanks so much for having me on to commentate, Tempest. It was a lot of fun.
I'm so glad I got to have you, especially after having an honor of hosting one of your runs, man. It was a great time.
Yes,
and,
yes.
Yeah, if you guys would like to follow me, I'm tempestmask1000 here on Twitch as well as YouTube, and my Twitter @itstempeststeve will have me post any sort of silly things I feel like, but also streaming updates because I'm not a static streamer. I just do what I can whenever I can. All right, everyone, thanks for tuning in, and enjoy the rest of the event. Until next time, ciao, Michi.
Take it easy and don't eat too much pizza before